I would say that although we have restricted time, and I think Bhavin and Shantanu has, covered most of the things, but I will just add on a few things here.
We have time, Santosh, till the time our participants are there.
Okay. Well, is it visible? My screen is visible to everybody?
Yeah, very much visible.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll again put my thoughts on challenges and then I'll take it forward. Obviously, I'll cover somehow I'll leave upon some of the points that already been covered by Bhavin and Shantanu. See, there are the key challenges that digital space in learning and development have been faced by most of the people who are actually managing. I would rather say cover most of the content from the perspective of learning and development team rather than from the individual learner perspective. So my perspective will be more from the L&D team, how they will be managing and all that. So this is so out of these points that you can see, the most important point I would say is the mindset that is being already covered to some extent. But here the mindset is self and the mindset of the others. Self as the learning and development, professionals, like how much I'm prepared. I mean, whether I'm positive towards, whether I'm also taking it like a compliance mode, conducting all these training on a compliance mode, or it is just like, or whether I have accepted the technology, I'm there to accept the technology or not. See, a few years back, whenever we used to, we never thought of buying trousers, shirts, shoes online. I mean, we never thought of buying these things without touching it, without wearing it. Now, people are easily buying all that stuff. So the point is, we'll have to adapt to technology. And this is the most important thing, that from the other side perspective, as post-COVID situation, this is not going to be a laser for people to come for, attending MDP's program or the, any kind of program for leisure purpose. It's not going to be. So as the cost is going to be a major thing that they will going to look at. So whatever we're going to deliver as a training, it has to be, quantified and measured. Everything will be done. So the other two important. The third very, very important point which we have missed upon so far. I mean, obviously because of time constraint. Otherwise, I'm sure Santanu has touched upon that. I would like to take it forward. Is the assessment part. I mean, he mentioned about. I mean, you asked about the senior management, how it can be measured and things like that. Whether they would require training or not. I can suggest here whether rather than going for the full-fledged MDP program, obviously they can have the blend of everything, but here you can have a scenario-based assessment for them rather than having a full-fledged, training program on various subjects, because they have experienced their own domain and rather contribute to the training rather than consume most of the content.
So you are suggesting a case study based approach, Santosh? Yeah,
case study based approach for them. I mean, let them continuously do that. You as a MDP, those who are running MDP or those who are in L&D, they can prepare those kind of scenario based approach assessment for the senior management. This could be one. I would say another thing, for example, for other people, if you are conducting training A and you are after that, you are taking a test A now. And after 3 months, you are conducting another training and taking another test B. And after 6 months forward, you are taking test C. So now what is happening is these are all disconnected. It should not be disconnected. For a person who is taking the journey of learning in a year, you as a, who is actually monitoring or managing the L&D part of it, when you are taking, you should have a system in place which can fetch data which is linked to the first learning object which you have taken in test A, and also in test B. If you are taking test B, question from test A and test B should come together, and that you're fetching data. I mean, those percentage of questions could vary. I mean, that you can decide, but it should be combination. If you're going in test C, it should be combination of A, B, and C. So it should be in continuous and comprehensive assessment. It cannot be I mean, because all these that you're talking about, training or the learning part for an individual, which is individualistic. It cannot be for a group and all that. It is ultimately individualistic, which is linked to KPIs and what you expected from an individual at the end of the day for performance. Now, it has to be, you have to quantify them, and you have to showcase to an individual as an L&D practitioner that this is what your level is, and combination of what you learned in a year of time. So that is very, very important. That is being missed by many of us in L&D. Second is, as self-motivation is major challenge, wherein just one suggestion given that you can have learning points. You can redeem these learning points, as Shantanu says, as incentives, performance points, and also, the assessment score can be even mapped to that. This is the third important point, which is, I already have covered, which is prescriptive learning. Most of the people think that the content is not relevant to me, because we are unnecessarily giving a lot of content which is actually not relevant to an individual who's learning it. So it is not linked to their job performance. I'm talking about from the perspective of an individual, so who's actually an employee in an organization. So it is not prescriptive. So we are unnecessarily loading a lot of courses which are not at all relevant to his on-job performance. Third, which is very, very important, is most of the people feel that the course is, the learning part is boring. It is monotonous and things like that. Here, I'll take one very simple example. One of the professors of IIM Bangalore, we experienced that whenever he comes, his name is Professor Krishnamurthy. Whenever he comes, he was the professor of business law, which is very interesting. As you know, it is very, very, for most of the people, it is very boring subject. So whenever he comes in the class, he used to distribute crosswords, crosswords for business law. And that is, for every chapter, he used to distribute crosswords. So that makes us more challenging to take it forward. I mean, solve those crosswords. So that makes us very interesting. And and for the last 3-4 years, when we were there, he got the kind of best teacher award in Bangalore. Not because of crossword, because of his approach. I'm talking about the approach of presenting the content and approach of, nowadays you have a lot of technology available. I mean, this guy was not using technology, rather than, even though he was very effective in terms of his training approach. So now you have technology, you're having a lot of high-level graphics and things like that, wherein you involve most of the senses. The more senses you involve, like you're having more of graphics, as Shantanu said, which is very, very important part, then that makes you, it will attract you, keep your attention for a longer period. So, and also you can remember it fast. So these are the things that you have to keep in mind when you're designing the course. Now you have AR, VR, like your augmented reality and virtual reality kind of things that you can even integrate in your course of production. And assessment definitely is very, very important. Just taking training is not at all important. Most important part is the assessment. If you're not taking assessment, then it is of no use, actually, according to me, as per my experience. And also, if you're having, like, if you're delivering the content, depending on the context of the content, or the kind of profile of the learner and things like that, you have to also consider the culture part of it, and also the language. Sometimes, even though if you wanted to have, like what we are doing and what we are doing in one of the companies, that we are using English language. We are not even either English, we are not using Hindi. It is English that we are using as a part of course content delivery to that kind of profile of person. So even if that is required, don't go by any language. I mean, whatever simplifies the learning, just follow that.
Santosh, in your PPT, you had suggested some very unique type of contents which you have delivered for some of the clients. And can you very quickly go through the same different cases so that our audience in this webinar can have a ringside view of what are the different types of contents they can look forward to?
Yeah, sure. I'll go to that. Before that, just one point I'd like to add, which is one of the most important point of this particular slide, is the last part, which is what I'm trying to say is every organization is unique in itself. Even the organization working in the same sector has uniqueness, and hence their processes are unique. That's the reason they are, they have the competitive advantage to thrive the business environment. And also, therefore, they require the customized courses. That's our firm belief. That's what we believe in. So there are, I mean, for individual, there could be a lot of other things that individual can learn and curate content from different sources. But yes, for those who have for the custom, take some of the examples of the companies. Uh, Very simple. Like you can start first with classroom material. Since you are into classroom training and you have a lot of content, digital nowadays, the flash courses you have, that's now you have to convert those courses into the latest course and all that is there. But now, what you're doing with your existing classroom training material? See, I'll take one case wherein what they have done is Transport Regulatory Authority of Abu Dhabi. I mean, the companies, there are 16 companies who have car fleets, of car fleets, private hire in Abu Dhabi. They have, all of them have the most part of the aviation customer service, the customer orientation by all these taxi drivers who are running the taxis in Abu Dhabi were wearing. So the Transport Authority of Abu Dhabi came in picture and they said, no, this can't happen, because they are the first touch point for the foreigners when they are visiting or landing on our, Abu Dhabi or UAE. So there has to be synchronized customer service or customer orientation by the taxi drivers, or customer care by the customers, by the taxi drivers, because they are the first touch points. So we work with all of them, and what we have developed is we have standardized the whole classroom training material, and then that was the first project, and then further we have converted those into the digital format. But the first point was you have to have a standard. So what we have done is they have selected the best trainers from all these 16 companies. They become the one group or the team, and we started interacting with those best trainers to create those content. So these are the kind of components of typical training materials or the classroom training materials we have. Some of them are like even we have captured the video best practices from the taxi drivers, the videos and all that stuff. Now this was the activity which was actually being needed by most of the companies. I mean, this is what the first step, wherein you have to collate the old whatever content you have, make it the best use of it with the best of the trainers, design it in such a way that it can be easily converted to other, I mean, different digital other formats. So that is one. Second is, like for the company like ITC, wherein the most of the people who are working in accounts and finance, they're all from CA and MBA finance background, so they don't need to be trained on accounts and finance. Rather, they would need to focus more on the internal processes. So that's the reason I'm saying again and again that the customization is required, because the internal processes of each organization is different. So here, what you need to do is a very cost-effective tool of converting. What they've given us is this is just few pages of document, the Word document, and then you are converting using simple tool using articulate into this kind of format. I cannot use the original course as per the NDA. What I'm using is that's the reason the voice used here are like, the scratch voice. Oh, sorry. Very simple way of presentation, just digitalize the content you can pass on to the users. So now this is another way of presentation of the different content of the similar like. So there are like processes can be explained in this way and things like that. I'll take another example wherein this is machine operations, wherein it is from technology department. Uh, you know, uh, the operator, wherein see, this is another approach wherein what they wanted us to do is the person who is appearing on screen should look like the main trainer of their classroom. So we have draw a caricature of the person who actually is the trainer inside the organization or in the university of the technical university. So these are the kind of here you can see. This is so this is another approach wherein you have the English as a language being used by this company. Now let us take another example wherein this is scenario based approach primarily for the service based industries. This is one approach. This could be one of the approach. This for sales people. Voice is scratch voice. We cannot showcase the original course, so that's the reason we have used the. Let us take another example. This is one academic services company which is actually wanted us to. We wanted to. They wanted us to develop courses for those who are going abroad for the higher studies. So here there is a blend of video which we have taken in the chroma background. So we have removed the background and then we have used these After Effects to present the content on screen. Let us take another example. This is Government of Dubai, HRD. This is a course on health and safety orientation. Here we have used 3D with the kind of After Effects. is the new technology wherein the integration of AR and VR. So this is one small case wherein you have a kind of machine using VR technology. We are it and technology. You can even give voices to them. So at that, I mean, just to summarize, I think we are short of time. We have already crossed. So just to summarize, there are key 4 factors that we should keep in mind while developing a learning ecosystem. One is the usability, reusability of the whole content, which should be cultural sensitive, multilingual and language based, and it should be presented keeping in mind all the senses, that all the major 3 senses at least in mind, to make it very effective. We can retain the span, grab the attention, and also visually rich, so that we can retain our memory span. Obviously, as Bhamin said, digital cloud is very important. His platform, obviously, like others, has a lot of features like AI based and cloud based platform, which is both good for even individual learners who can curate the content from outside, or the internal content being created by the organization. And it should be, obviously, at the end of the day, cost effective and measurable, which is very, very important. This is what organization is looking at. So the other kind of one last thing, somebody asked this question, so I'll just put this. Probably could be of interest to you guys. They are the tools available for the learning and development. As we are doing this WebEx like that, the Google Meet, Microsoft Teams, Zoom, TeamViewer. Like for rapid authoring tool, we have Adobe Captivate, Articulate Storyline, Go Animate. The new name is Beyond. Augmented reality tools and virtual reality tools like LMS. The open source Moodle is very, very common. Then Totara, SAP, SAP, Litmos, and Docebo is also, again, AI-based, Blackboard. The software being used in the whole development of the courses are obviously Adobe Photoshop, Premiere for video editing, voiceover editing, and After Effects for video, and things like that. So that's what, Yusuf, from my side.